My family tried to cutting me out. I shut down everything they counted on. By 8 a.m., 52 missed calls. Their lawyer said, "We need to talk." I smiled. My name is Emily Walker. I am 32 years old and work for a Denver-based fintech startup, forecasting worst-case situations. But nothing in my career prepared me for the 12-second voicemail that devastated my family. It arrived on a Wednesday afternoon, sandwiched between a risk report and a cup of cold coffee. I pressed play and heard my mother's flat, businesslike voice, like if she were canceling a subscription. Not her daughter. "You are out. Do not come back. We are going on without you." There is no explanation or feeling. Only a verdict. For a few while, I glanced at my phone, felt my heartbeat in my ears. Then the portion of my brain that spends the entire day locking up other people's money quietly kicked in. I did not call back. I did not argue. I typed a basic text. "Okay." Then I moved on first. I got into the family LLC I had created from the ground up, which housed our rental properties and the new triplex we were going to close on, and I locked every privilege with my name on it. There will be no further agreements done using my credit, no further transfers without my consent. Then I phoned the real estate agent and backed out of the house transaction they were banking on. House dealt. Finally, I froze the retirement account structure I had created for them, ensuring that nothing could be modified or emptied without my knowledge. By the time my coffee was finished, so was whatever easy path they believed they had through me. I assumed that was the end of it. Instead, by the next morning, my phone had 52 missed calls and a message from their lawyer saying, "We have a serious problem." I smiled as I composed my response. Because they had no understanding the problem was not that I was gone. It was what I carried with me. Stay with me to the end to witness how one icy voicemail grew into a family vengeance plot in which the person they attempted to cut out wound up holding every card. The next morning, I awoke to my phone buzzing on the edge of the nightstand. For a moment I assumed it was my alarm. Then I noticed the screen. There are 52 missed calls. Mom, Dad, and unknown numbers. One from a law firm that I recognized. The most recent communication was a voicemail from their lawyer. I plugged in my ears and pressed play as I started the coffee machine. "This is Benjamin Davis, attorney for James and Catherine Harris. Emily, we need to chat. This is serious. Please call back as soon as possible." His voice was tense, like attorneys become when they discover their clients have left out key data. I ended the communication and gazed at the wall for a time, listening to the coffee drip. My phone continued to light up as additional texts from Mom arrived. "Emily, this is simply a misunderstanding. Call me. We need to discuss." From Dad. "Kiddo, whatever occurred, we can solve it. Kindly call us back." Another one from Mom. "We didn't mean it that way. We were upset. Come home so that we can explain." Funny, I thought, because her voice had been quite clear yesterday. "You are out. Do not come back. We are going on without you." That sounded very apparent to me. I scrolled, almost expecting to find Sophie's name somewhere among the flood. Nothing. Not a single text or missed call from my younger sister, who used to bombard our family group chat about trivial matters. She was rather quiet for someone who enjoyed receiving attention. While the coffee was finishing, I launched the building security app and almost immediately pulled up the video feed for our front entry. The screen displayed a footage from earlier that morning. My father stood at the glass entrance of my apartment building, hands deep in his jacket pockets, gazing up to the second level, where my unit was. Snorts. He checked his phone, paused as if ready to press the buzzer, then turned around and went away. No call, no knock, simply retreat. My chest clenched for a half-second before I forced the sensation down. When someone demonstrate how easy they can cut you off, don't hurry to console them when they feel the knife swing back their way. On the way to work, my phone began buzzing in my bag. I allowed it. At my workstation, I eventually sent out 3 brief responses to Mom. "I am safe. I need time with Dad." I heard the voicemail. "I'm not ready to speak with the lawyer. I've got your message. I'll react in writing." That was all I owed anyone. Jenna, my coworker, lowered her voice as she slid her chair over to my desk shortly before lunchtime. "You've been looking at the screen as if you were going to blow it up," she said. "Everything okay at home?" I almost responded yes out of habit, but I stopped myself. Not really. My parents decided that I would no longer be involved in the family company. Her eyebrows rose. "Are they aware that you are the family business?" I shrugged. "They left a voicemail. I shut things down. Their lawyer has now gotten involved." Jenna gave out a slow whistle. "Look, I'm not telling you what to do, but you know how things go. The second money is involved, everyone starts performing. If you make moves out of guilt, they will interpret that as you admitting fault. Make sure every decision you make is something you'd be comfortable explaining to a judge someday. I nodded. I understood that part better than anyone else. My job involved risk management. I had spent years developing systems that prevented people from quietly moving money behind each other's backs. And now I realized I'd created the ideal system to prevent my own family from doing the same thing to me. As I walked to the break room to refill my coffee, my phone buzzed again. A new message from an unknown number. I heard you got out of the triplex because you were overwhelmed. You okay? It was a cousin from my father's side. Overwhelmed? That was certainly not my word. It sounded like something Sophie might say while blinking back fake tears. In my mind, the pieces began to fall into place. The timing of her marketing job loss. She'd started using phrases like streamline the LLC and free up equity at Sunday dinners. As if she'd ever cared about spreadsheets. She was the only one who was silent now, like a puppeteer who had already pulled the strings and was waiting off stage to see what would happen. I stared at my phone and felt the first clean edge of anger, sharp and cold, slip into place. If Sophie was behind this, if she thought she could push me out of what I'd built and take my place while our parents watched, she'd picked the wrong sister to fight over money. 2 days later, I attempted to pretend that life was normal by doing something painfully ordinary. I visited the local coffee shop. I always hit on Saturdays. The type of cafe where the barista remembers your order and the regulars discuss inflation and home prices. I'd barely picked up my coffee when I heard someone shout my name. Emily. Hey. I turned and spotted Daniel Reed, one of my father's old friends from the garage where he used to work. He patted my shoulder as if nothing was wrong. Heard about the triplex? He asked, dropping his voice as if he were about to reveal a secret. Tough stuff. I grimaced. What about it? He grimaced. Just what your mom and Sophie were saying in the family group chat. That you pulled out because work pressure got to you. That you were overwhelmed, and it was not a good time for you mentally. He said, mentally, as if he was frightened to say breakdown. My jaw tightened. Overwhelmed. There it was again. I faked a grin so tight it seemed like it might shatter. Yeah. Well, you know how rumors travel, I said. Daniel touched my arm, urged me to take care of myself, and went to the sugar station. I stepped out of the shop before my countenance revealed how I truly felt. Outside in the cool Denver air, I took out my phone and browsed back over my texts. Sophie did not contact or text me, but she felt safe informing my extended family that I was too unstable to manage a house sale I had nearly arranged. That wasn't simply rumor, that was the basis. Sitting in my car, I opened my contacts and selected a name I hadn't used in months. Matthew Adams, the financial advisor who assisted me in establishing the first structure for our family LLC before my parents, influenced by Sophie, moved to someone newer and flashier. Matthew picked up on the second ring. This is a surprise, Emily, he remarked. Still keeping everyone out of trouble? Working on it, I answered. I have a question. Has anyone tried to change ownership percentages in Mitchell Holdings LLC recently? There was a gap in which you could hear someone sitting up straighter. I've seen some draft documents float by, he explained hesitantly. Your mom mentioned a new advisor, asked a few hypotheticals, but I saw references to adding another family member as a managing member, and your signature line was blank. It looked messy, so I told her nothing could move without you. I tightened my grasp on the steering wheel. Sophie is another family member, of course. Did any of it go through? I inquired. No, he said. The paperwork was incomplete and frankly questionable. But Emily, if someone is trying to backdoor their way into control of your LLC, you need to get ahead of it. I thanked him, hung up, and looked at the dashboard for a long time. I recalled the voicemail informing me that I had left. I remembered Daniel using the phrase, overwhelmed, and how my mother suddenly wanted a new advisor once Sophie quit her job. This did not happen at random. This was a strategy with a poor legal foundation, and a heavy dose of emotional manipulation on top. Sophie sent me a fresh notice as I was sitting there. Finally, Emily, what are you doing? Pulling out of the house deal, worrying everyone out, and shutting down accounts. This is a mess, and you're making it worse. For a little while my fingers hovered over the keyboard. I almost let out everything that was bubbling in my brain. Instead, I erased the response draft and opened my inbox. First, I notified the real estate agent. Per our chat, please consider this written confirmation that I have withdrawn from the Mitchell Triplex acquisition as a borrower and principal qualification. Any additional representations that I am involved in this transaction are false and illegal. Then I requested an official cancellation notice be delivered to my parents, copying their lawyer. Then I started a new message. This time it was addressed to Sophie but worded in the same way I would send any other risk escalation at work. Sophie, this email serves as formal notice that any effort to change ownership, signature authority, or financial structure of Mitchell Holdings LLC, any affiliated properties, or retirement funds without my written authorization is illegal and may constitute fraud. Do not sign my name. Do not assume my approval. Any such action shall be documented and reported to legal counsel. No screaming or name-calling, simply facts and consequences. I sent it and then placed my phone face down in the passenger seat. By the time I arrived home, my call record had 7 more tries from Mom, 3 from Dad, and none from Sophie. At my place, I opened my laptop and created a new folder called Family Risk File. I sent screenshots of messages, the lawyer's voicemail, Matthew's notes, and the email I had just written. Every gesture, lie, and attempt to portray me as unstable was going in there. Because if Sophie was creating a tale in which I was the problem, the weak link to be torn out so she could slide in, I was going to create a better one. One supported by timestamps and documentation. And I couldn't help but wonder, as I watched the files build up on my laptop, how many families end up like this because one person values the truth less than the victim character they've been playing their whole lives. 4 days later, an unknown number appeared on my screen in the middle of a spreadsheet. I almost let it go to voicemail until I noticed the firm's name. This is Emily. Hi Emily, this is Jason Liu, your parents' new financial advisor, he told her. I just need to go over some discrepancies in the Mitchell retirement structure. That word caused me to sit up. He stated that he had been investigating the LLC and retirement accounts and had discovered draft paperwork adding Sophie as a co-trustee or managing member, with my name included as an approver, but no real signature from me. To be clear, Jason, I have not approved anything, I informed you. I haven't signed a thing since the day I set it up. Jason sighed. I assumed your family is under the assumption you walked away and that these adjustments are what you desire. The term overwhelmed came up, and I wanted your confirmation for compliance. Treat every request as unapproved until you see my live signature. I advised him, if someone claims otherwise, ask for written proof. You won't get any. My cousin Megan called after we had hung up. Are you okay? She exclaimed. Because the way Sophie has been talking, it sounds like you are falling apart. I asked Sophie what she was saying. That you pulled out of the triplex because of anxiety? That you hoard control of the LLC? That you threatened to cut Mom and Dad off financially? Megan added. Now she's posting about abusive power in families. None of that is true, I said. Megan dropped her voice. I didn't think so. It doesn't match the Emily who paid for their roof. I just wanted you to know what was being said. Thanks. Screenshot if you feel like it. Otherwise don't feed her audience. We hung up. A second later, an email thread appeared in my inbox. Subject: Mitchell Triplex Purchase Update. It came from our agency Susan, with my parents, Sophie and Matthew the lawyer on copy. Sophie's note, quoted beneath her response, read, Susan, as we mentioned, Emily has withdrawn due to personal mental health difficulties. We need to move forward without her. Please respect her limitations, Sophie had wrote, sounding so compassionate that my skin crawled. Susan's response was succinct. Thank you, Sophie. For liability, I'll need written confirmation directly from Emily, and we'll pause the file for now. I began typing before the rage subsided. Hi Susan, I wrote. Attached are my written withdrawal from 2 days ago, and the pre-approval documents. I'm not leaving due to mental health issues. I'm withdrawing because I no longer want my name, credit, or income utilized in the present family situation. Any other depiction of my choice is incorrect. Thank you for pausing the file. Emily. I copied Benjamin and Matthew, and included any documentation demonstrating I had been the driver from the beginning. Susan, snorts, responded swiftly to the little group. Understood. I will ignore Sophie's previous reply and solely follow your directions. Matthew sent a modest email. Received. We should discuss future actions. That night, I found an envelope with my mother's handwriting affixed to my apartment door. Inside, on lined paper, she had written, We love you. We were emotional. Please call us so we can fix this before it goes too far. Love, Mom. My chest wrenched for a moment. I imagined her at the kitchen table, preparing the tale as Sophie paced and wept. My phone vibrated again. Megan had emailed a snapshot of Sophie's latest post. Sometimes the most dangerous member in a family is the one who has complete control over the money and punishes you for disobeying. It said, Healing means walking away from people who weaponize their power, even if they share your last name. The responses were filled with hearts and "You go girl." I placed my mother's note next to my laptop and opened the folder called Family Risk File. Emails, voicemails, advisor notes and screenshots were neatly organized in rows. Up until now, I'd just been closing doors. As the data piled up, I knew that protection wasn't enough. If Sophie wanted to create a narrative in which I was the villain, I was going to respond with something she couldn't spin, a plain documented story that left her standing alone in the light. The next morning, when I was at my work, my phone vibrated with a fresh text from my mother. No argument, just 10 minutes. Please. I gazed at it. 10 minutes wouldn't cure a message telling me not to call back, but it sounded more like her than anything she'd sent in weeks. Call me, I wrote. She responded quickly, and I heard the faint speaker echo. Your dad is also here, she continued. Hey kiddo, James continued. You wanted 10 minutes, I said. Mom exhaled. We messed up, Emily. Saying, you're out. Don't come back. That was extreme. We shouldn't have said it like that. You didn't, I told you. I said you said exactly that. She paused, then tried again. Your sister told us things. She said that you were planning to cut us out of the LLC, talking to lawyers about removing us from retirement accounts, saying you were tired of carrying us and wanted full control. She said you told her after dinner in the car. None of that ever occurred. I responded. Did you hear those words from me directly? Well, no, Mom admits. Sophie said you talked in the car on the way home. I took my own car that night, I said. I left alone, there was no car ride. Dad cursed softly. Why would she make that up? Mom muttered, but it seemed like she already knew the answer. Maybe because she wanted what I have, I said. If I am unstable and power hungry, sliding herself into documents looks like protecting you, not using you. Dad exhaled. This is past family drama now. Matthew called. Jason called you. Susan paused to the house. I know, I said. That's why I'm done with whispers. We're going to sit down, all four of us, in the same room. No speakerphone, no vague posts. It'll bring documents. You bring everything Sophie told you. Then we see what survives. Do we have to involve lawyers? Mom inquired. They're already involved, I explained. The question is whether they see Sophie's story first or the evidence. When? Dad inquired. Tomorrow 6 at the house, I said. If Sophie won't come, that's an answer too. The next evening I entered my folks' living room with a hefty folder under my arm. Same beige couch, same framed school photographs, entirely different atmosphere. My parents sat together on the sofa. Sophie sat in an armchair with a tissue as a prop. She would not look at me. Thanks for coming, Dad remarked. I placed the folder and my phone on the coffee table. Just so we are clear, I stated. Nothing about this is off the record in my head. If anyone lies, I won't keep it here. Sophie sneered. Wow, way to make this hostile. We're family. Then the truth shouldn't scare anyone, I said. Mother twisted her hands. Sophie. Honey, tell Emily what you told us. No, I said. Sophie can speak for herself. Go ahead. Sophie rolled her eyes. I just repeated what you said, she snapped. That you were done carrying everything. That you were thinking of pulling your name off things. That you wanted full control of the LLC so you didn't have to consult them. And this was in the car after dinner, right? I asked. She nodded. Yeah. You were upset. You probably don't even remember. I opened the folder, retrieved a printed statement, and passed it across. That night at Harbor Grill, right? Check the timestamps. Mom's gaze shifted down the page. Sophie's ride-sharing receipt arrived at their residence around 10:25. My petrol station charge across town was 10:23. Different routes, different cars. I drove myself, I informed you. You took a car alone. There was no car conversation. Maybe it was another night, Sophie responded hurriedly. Before you say that, here's the only other time we all had dinner in the last 4 months, I added, flicking to another paper. That night you left early to meet friends. I stayed to pay. No private ride then either. Dad leaned back gently. Sophie, he spoke gently. She shrugged. Memory is weird. Okay, I was trying to help. I thought she was serious about needing a break. Next, I sent Susan an email. My withdrawal was issued before Sophie's mental health update. Then Susan responded, stating she'd overlook anything that didn't come from me. Snorts. Then Jason's message concerning draft paperwork containing my name but not signed. Next, screenshots of Sophie's postings and Megan's replies. One by one, the pages formed a path from my voicemail to this couch. Mom eventually turned to Sophie. You told us you saw emails, she said quietly. You told us Emily said she was done with us. Sophie sat up taller. So now you just believe her because she printed things? She said. She said she's always liked control. She's twisting everything to make me look crazy. Dad placed his gaze on her. The truth doesn't fall apart when you hold it next to a receipt, he told me. Yours did. Mom stared at me, and for the first time since the voicemail, I noticed something change. We always thought you could handle more, she told us. We saw Sophie as fragile, so we protected her and pushed responsibility onto you. And now I am sitting here realizing the only person who has lied to us is the one we told not to come back. Sophie opened her lips, but Mom raised a hand. Not this time, she said quietly. The word no dropped between them, and I felt something inside me gently return to place. They attempted to edit me out based on a screenplay Sophie made. They were now watching the screenplay burn page by page, realizing they were only seconds away from losing the one person who had kept them afloat. The hush following my mother's nose sat like a fifth person in the room. Sophie squirmed in her chair, her gaze flitting between our parents and me, checking which way the wind was blowing. So what now? She said eventually. You've got your little packet of papers. Congratulations, Emily. Are you happy you made Mom cry? I didn't respond to the comment. This is not about anyone crying, I explained. It's about consequences. You told me I was out, you tried to push through changes behind my back, and you told others I was unstable so you could take over the things I established. That can't just be a sad Facebook post with everyone pretending it never occurred. My father scratched his jaw as if he were lining up a tough repair in his thoughts. What do you think should happen? He inquired. Sophie snapped her head towards him. Seriously, Dad, you're asking her? I caught his gaze. You wanted me out of the family business? I asked. Fine. It'll step back from being the default safety net, but that also means no one gets to quietly use my name, my credit, or my work. Starting with making sure Sophie has zero access to anything I've set up. My mother hesitated. Sophie doesn't have access, she said, but I shook my head. Not formally, maybe, I said. But she's been in meetings. She's been in group chats about the triplex. She's been talking to advisors like decisions were already moving in her favor. That stops today. Dad exhaled and glanced at Sophie. Honey, he added, we need to be clear here. No more speaking to advisors on our behalf. No more implying Emily is okay with things when she is not. Sophie blinked hard. So you're just going to cut me out? She said, her voice becoming high and thin. After everything I have done for you. I couldn't help myself from asking, what exactly is that? The Instagram story about being raised by wolves in the suburbs, or the half-baked business plans you wanted me to fund? Mom flinched but did not chastise me this time. James, she spoke gently. Maybe we should make it official. No additional beneficiaries, no shared accounts, no promises we can't keep. We've been saying for years we'd help Sophie start something, pay off this card, co-sign that loan. All it has done is make her think she is entitled to money that isn't there until Emily builds it. I gazed at her, astonished by her bluntness. Catherine turned to face me. We want you to rewrite the documents, she told me. The LLC, the retirement stuff, all of it, based on what you think actually makes sense, not what we say in the middle of a fight. I gazed at her. You're asking me to take control again after you just told me to get out? I responded with caution. She nodded with moist eyes. I'm asking you to do what you have been doing this whole time, she told me. Only this time with us admitting you know more than we do. Sophie gave a bitter chuckle. Unbelievable. You're handing her everything. You're punishing me because I told the truth about how she treats us. Dad gazed at her attentively. The truth would have held up against a gas receipt, he told me. Yours didn't. That is the difference. Sophie became visibly shaken for the first time since she stepped in. Her gaze shifted to me, looking for an older version of me who could give a lifeline. I did not. James drew a breath. Here's what we're going to do, he continued, adopting the strong tone he used to maintain at the business. Emily, you and Benjamin and Matthew figure out whatever it takes to make the LLC and the retirement accounts bulletproof. You and I remain the only managing members. Your mom is a beneficiary. Sophie is not in any position of control anywhere. If we help her, it will be from our own pockets, not by opening back doors into what you built. Sophie sat forward. You can't just erase me like that, she said. I'm your daughter too. My mother winced. We are not erasing you, she explained. We're stopping pretending money we don't have is going to fall from the sky because we put your name on something Emily made. If we ever help you, It will be because you have a real plan and we can actually afford it, not because we feel guilty. Sophie changed tactics so quickly it made my head spin. Fine, she responded, tearing up. Then let me prove it, Emily. Give me a small role in the LLC. Let me do social media or something. Let me show you I can contribute instead of just taking. It was almost astonishing how she transitioned from fury to appealing to the perspective that made her appear most reasonable. A year ago I may have fell for it. Now I've seen another variant of the same pattern. I rose up and grabbed up my folder. No, I said with a smile. If you want to prove you can build something, you don't do it by wiring yourself into what someone else has already built. You do it by starting with nothing like I did. My mother stared between us. Emily, isn't that a little harsh? She inquired quietly. I shake my head. Harsh was being told I was out and should not come back, I informed him. Harsh was having my stability used as a prop to get sympathy online. This is just boundaries, Mom. There's a difference. Sophie scowled at me and snarled, you are going to regret this. You think you can cut me off and walk away clean? I grabbed my phone and placed it inside my backpack. No, I said. I think I can protect what I have earned and stop you from turning my work into your safety net. Whatever happens to you after that is not on me. On my way out, my father led me to the door. I am sorry, he murmured gently. For the voicemail, for not asking you first. For letting it get this far. I believed what was easiest to hear. I nodded, feeling a complex combination of relief and melancholy pour over me. I know, I replied. But believing the easy story does not mean the consequences are easy too. Over the next week the adjustments were tangible. Jason handed along amended versions with simply mine and James's names in the control positions. Benjamin planned a meeting where my parents signed agreements restricting who may access their accounts. I amended the LLC operating agreement to specifically specify that no new managing member may be joined without the unanimous written permission of current members. There was no line where Sophie's name might be written afterward. When the final signature dried, I felt something settle in place. Revenge is not a spectacular event, but rather a framework. A system in which the individual who attempted to force me out no longer had any access. Sophie arrived at my workplace unexpectedly a few days later, eyes wide and crimson, and asked the receptionist for me. She was clutching a binder, the kind you'd use to present a project. I greeted her in the lobby, arms crossed. I have a business plan, she continued, throwing the binder at me. Events, brand partnerships, influencer collaborations. If you just invest a little, I can pay you back and prove everyone wrong. I did not take the binder. Start it without me, I said. If it works, you won't need my money. If it doesn't, you'll know why I said no. Her face crumpled as fury and terror competed for space. You are really not going to help me, she said quietly. Not after everything. I recalled Matthew's warning, Jason's caution, Megan's screenshots, my mother's message, my father's silent apologies, and the voicemail that started everything. I'm done helping people set themselves on fire with my gasoline, I told them. Snorts. Then I turned and walked back through the locked door to my floor, leaving her binder, and everything else on the other side. 2 months later, I stood in the driveway of a pale brick triplex on the outskirts of Denver, carrying a box of kitchen supplies and watching my parents quarrel over where to place a bird feeder. The bottom unit was now theirs, formally documented with a clause stating that they may live there for the rest of their life without anybody touching it. My flat was on the second level, with large windows that let in plenty of light. The third unit was already available for rental. The figures were penciled in a spreadsheet that I had complete control over. Sophie had attempted to sneak into Mitchell Holdings LLC, which was leaner and cleaner. My father and I are the only management members. My mother is the beneficiary, and there are more precautions than any family turmoil could shake free. There are no side doors, leaving no space for artistic adaptation. On weekend evenings, I'd come down to cook with my mother in her new kitchen while my father watched a car show in the living room. We didn't go over every detail again, but we stopped acting as if money was this mystical fog that no one understood. I'd open the accounts on my laptop and guide them through what was actual, rather than what they wished was genuine. It wasn't flawless. When Sophie's name came up, their eyes were still filled with sadness and remorse. But suddenly, when she texted to beg for assistance with another credit card, my mother would show me the message, then set her phone face down and remark, "We can't fix this for her. Not this way." According to cousins, Sophie ended herself in a modest apartment across town, hopping between gigs. Her grandiose event plans never fully took off. People began to realize that her stories always had a villain and a spotlight. For once, I wasn't in either position. I didn't sue her. I didn't attempt to damage her online. I did something quieter, and to me, crisper. I took away her perceived power and allowed her to have a life independent of my profession. I wasn't furious any longer. I was clear. It's clear that trust without limits is an invitation for the wrong person to walk in and disrupt everything. It is clear that being the strong one in a family does not imply that you should allow others to use your power against you. If there is one takeaway from all of this, it is that you may love your family but refuse to be their insurance policy when they gamble with the truth. You may forgive without returning the keys. And if somebody tells you you're out, don't come back. You're permitted to believe them. Step back and ask yourself a more difficult question. What should I cease allowing them access to from this point forward? Perhaps you have your own interpretation of the story. A period when someone treated your loyalty like a credit card with no limits. If you do, I hope you realize sooner than I did that saying no is not retaliation. It is self-respect. Sometimes something is more important to safeguard than the house itself.